and instead of like Image Comics was a group of creators that broke away, everyone knows, and made Image Comics. Now it's like a bunch of Image Comicses that are like together.
Welcome back to Inspired Inc., the CWS podcast, a show where we promote indie comic creators and become inspired by what they create and their journey of creating it. I'm your host, Brandon Bloxdorf, and today on the show, we have creator and publisher Eli Schwab joining us of CosmicLion, and we talk about the journey and history of CosmicLion, what it's like being a creator and balancing publishing, and the heartfelt moments that keep us going making comics. All this and so much more on today's Inspired Inc. Have you noticed like a major shift in like your creative abilities or reach outs or community since you've headed over in that direction?
Definitely the community. Well, because when I first moved here, Meltdown Comics was like still really huge, and so I was going there like every week, and every month they had this Meltthology where it was like all these comic creators get together at the shop and do a page for a zine, and so I did that like every month for like the first 2 years I was living here. Met a ton of people there, like Dave Baker, Mizimo, and Erwin Papa, and like a bunch of people that became like my friends here. And then, yeah, it was just, I mean, that was humongous jumpstart. But then I also did my first zine fair at Meltdown and sold 0 things.
Okay, yeah.
But you know, I was still young, and I only had my stuff. I only had like old stuff, and so it was like I get it. Like I didn't have, something cool to see. So
where did CosmicLion come into play at that place? Or at that point, like and you're publishing and producing all these other people's work.
Are we going right now? Are we?
Dude, I just record, and then whenever Alex finds a sweet spot in the conversation, he just like edits it.
Okay,
in. Yeah. So it's always I never try to do a pressured intro and all that, because then it's more relaxed.
Nice, dig it.
You don't feel that pressure of like, oh man, I'm going on stage and we're being interviewed and now we're talking. I just want to talk to you.
We just try to roll in. All right, sweet.
We just hang out.
All right. Well, CosmicLion's kind of always been there. I started CosmicLion way back when I was living in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont. I moved there because I loved the band Fish, and I wanted to make music my work. And I did. And I got a job at the club where they started, Nectar's in Burlington. Started off as a security guy, dishwashing, and worked my way all the way up to production manager. And once I was production manager there, then they gave me the opportunity to start booking nights and having like monthly shows and weekly shows. And so I needed like a name. I needed a brand name. And, I used to say I don't really remember exactly where it started, but like number one, like lions have always been a huge part of like just my upbringing. My grandparents collected lions. They had all these lions. They were in like the Lions Club growing up, which is like a community organization. In Judaism, the Lion of Judah is like a huge thing. And then, I had dreads for a while, another like part of my past that I like have to grapple with. I feel like I did it in a good way. And I learned a lot about Rastafarian culture and Judaism, and they have, they're like similar in that they both have the Lion of Judah as this like central figure. So then that became even more for me. And then the cosmic thing just happened because I love like Star Trek and Cosmic Marvel and Silver Surfer and stuff like that. And so then it was just like this perfect confluence. There's another band called Sound Tribe Sector 9 that I loved. I have been and still, enjoy like jam music, improvisational music. And STS9 kind of like fuses this like drum and bass kind of stuff with this improvisational music. Anyway, they had this poster that just was a collage, and there was this lion with like a galaxy on its forehead.
Oh, cool.
And I saw that, and then it was just like that's it. That's CosmicLion. That's me. That's the thing. Done. And then we started booking shows at Nectar's like within a week of that.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it. Yeah,
And like shows, you mean like music shows, or are you talking about
yeah,
like
that's
little?
correct. Yeah,
Oh,
I started producing music first before. Well, like I was always doing my comics, and
uh-huh.
and it was fairly quickly once I started booking these nights where I would do like and also comic book release party. And so I would
Okay.
take all my notebooks and sketches and a lot of bar sketches. I used to sit at the bar and draw. I worked at a pizza restaurant as well. And so I would get off work and I would sit at the bar right at because like it was like an L shaped. So
Mhm.
like the bar was here and then the pizza counter was here. And so I would
Oh,
sit right here at the corner of the bar and watch all the people coming in ordering pizza and just draw all these like crazy faces and stuff. And
oh, that's cool.
um technique I learned from Arcrum. He would like sit on these benches and just draw everyone that came by, and his notebooks were like filled with that. So I would do that, and then I would make these little short comics, or like if I was bartending and it was slow, I would take a piece of register tape and make like a long comic. And so then I took all that stuff together and put it just like went across the street from Nectar's and Mr. Mike's, which is the pizza place. They were on the same block, which was handy. And I just went off to Kinko's and then photocopied. I didn't know anything about putting comics together. It was one-sided 8.5 by 11 paper.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I always say in interviews that I just like ripped off Jim Mahfood to start off with, and I did so much. Like one of his collections was it was a collection of his mini comics called 40 Ounce Collected. So my first one was CosmicLion Collected, and he drew his studio, and I just drew my like living room on the front of it. You know, so
Nice. That's cool.
always shouts
Yeah.
to Mahfood, man. He's the best.
Dude, one of the top. And I think he's very like underrated by a lot of people too. Like he's
Uh,
someone that should always be climbing. Like it's and once I saw his work, I was like, man, work like that makes you transform what comic book art can be, and that's what's fun
100%.
about it.
And another thing I love with him too is his style has grown leaps and bounds over his career. Like if you look at his original 40 ounce comics or Clerks, and then you look at his like Girl Scouts Magic Socks or Stone Ghost, where is that
Oh
now?
yeah.
Like completely different.
Didn't he do like a Marvel book at one point too?
He
I
did a
remember
couple ones.
hearing.
He did one called like What Huh? That was like kind of
Yeah.
like What the Riff, and then he did Howard the Human with Scotty Young, which was
Yeah.
like
Okay. And
the
it's just
Secret
different. It's
Wars.
just so weird.
Yeah,
Like it's such a trip.
I love
Man,
it.
that's cool that you pull from creators like that, the ones you're dropping, a lot of these like people that were, transformative in the indie industry, I mean,
Yeah,
Robert Crumb, like one of the tops who just really revolutionized stuff, especially in the 70s and whatnot. Did you always have an interest in like the history of comics and the history of zines and like, the underground art in that sense?
yeah. As soon as I like learned about it, and I mean, it's a crazy story because the first indie comic, like 8.5 by 11 folded stapled book that I ever saw was a book by this guy. Well, I guess it was a anthology, but there was a story inside of it by this dude, Gary Kramer, who I recently
Mm,
found and published one of his books. And so, like, I grew up in again a small town in Maryland, Cumberland, Maryland, close to where you're living now.
yeah.
And there was a place called the Paperback Exchange. That was a second bookstore that I started going to. There's the Book Center. Shout out the Book Center. Shout out Gail. She just hit me up the other day and said thanks for a shout out and another interview. So shout out Gail and Sam and Lee and everybody there. And then we went to the Paperback Exchange, and that was K. And the Paperback Exchange was like exactly what you hear. It was like old paperbacks, and then they had like comics in the center, and that was my first big like back issues, and that's where I first saw Spawn #1 on the wall, and and so they also had a super small like indie collection because Gary
Hmm.
worked there, and so that got me like to know that you can just make comics that
Hmm.
that they don't have to be anything you know flashy and colorful. And so I started making my own comics like that. And then, yeah, I just was interested in any comic that didn't look like a Marvel or DC comic. Now, I love Marvel and DC, and I was reading the Archie Turtles then. It's not like I was 8 years old flipping through like Zap Comics or anything.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Just
but
being prestigious, like at 8 years old, just
yeah,
like,
I'm like,
wow,
oh
with
my
your
God.
Marvel DC.
Oh man, that'd be sick though. Maybe
I
my
would love
kid
to
will
meet
do
that 8-year-old who's just
Yeah,
like
I know.
acting like that. Like,
I want to see what he creates at 8, at 12, 16. He's gonna be wild, man.
he's gonna blow us all out of the water at that point and just destroy us
Yeah.
all. Yeah, that's the thing too, is that like Marvel and DC, we all know are staple points for comics. And like you, I love the cosmic stuff. It's what I'm all about. I love that,
Yeah.
Silver Surfer Galactus stuff. But once you open the doors past that, that's when it gets exciting for a lot of us. And that's when a lot of us didn't realize that, like, oh, there's more past this. This is just like a way to get our attention, and you kind of got to dig a little deeper and you start finding like the real gold and stuff like what you said, like, oh, anyone can do this. Anyone can make comics. And I think that's the point of like indie and zines and whatnot. Is like, it doesn't, like, exactly what you said. It doesn't need to be flashy and all insane. Just put it out, complete it and put it out.
It doesn't need to be anything. Like,
yeah, honestly,
I feel like it's just got to be in that shape to be a comic. Like, it can be just words. It can be words and pictures. It can be just pictures. It can be photos, fumetti cut up. It can be, anything. And man, we did this interview with Los Bros Hernandez, and they had this amazing quote. And he was like, Gilbert was like, just do it and do it. And like, that's the best, like, that's the best advice. Like, if you're thinking about making a comic, just do it. If it's your first comic, you don't necessarily need to come to like a publisher like CosmicLion or whoever. Like, just make it and go to Kinko's and photocopy it and just start getting it out there. Start, at the ground swell right there to, just to have something and to go to a con and give it to your favorite creator.
I mean, that's like the biggest first step too. And that's how you're gonna get the attention of publishers like, like you or us at Apollo. Like, if we see you making the work and we've seen you know what it takes, like the amount of time and effort, you get it. Your first book, it sounds like it's gonna be easy. It's the hardest thing in the world, dude. Like,
it's hard.
It's super hard. So just get that out and practice and mess up and make something shitty. And then cool stuff will happen because you've learned so much in that process. Because
absolutely,
and the process itself teaches you just as much as you learn while you're making art, like that.
And like you said, you got to make those mistakes. Like, if you belabor that first book too much and you're thinking about it too much and you're going back and changing stuff and you're doing it. And if you spent more than like 6 months and all the pages are done and you keep tweaking it, not like tweaking, but like, if then maybe that's not the story you need to get out. Like, because the first book I made, I printed through Kablam. Oh, cool. I didn't have a script. I didn't have layouts. I didn't do anything. I just went right to paper with pencil and like laid it out and then inked it and just did it. And then, reached out to my favorite artist at the time, Jim Lawson from Ninja Turtles. He's an amazing creator, a super generous guy. He gave me the Kablam website. He told me what to do. He asked to read my comic. And then like a week later in the mail, he sent me a pinup for free. And like that, like I wouldn't like I don't feel like I would be so passionate about it if that first experience with Jim Lawson wasn't so insanely amazing. And, and I've had other experiences where artists I really love were like, your stuff's not there yet. You need to keep working. And that took me back and made me like, upset for years. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely why I haven't finished Monkey Line, which is like my book about an intergalactic Afro-funk band on tour through the galaxy. But, it's okay. It's okay. And like those things make you grow and you got to take the good with the bad. But again, Jim Lawson, another huge shout out. Why is it all gyms? Why is it all gyms everywhere?
Yeah, you are. Yeah. It's a lot of gym related comic book stuff.
Jim Hendrix, Jim Morrison were all there.
Jim Rugg, all of them, all tucked in there. Jim Starlin, like everything.
Starlin, exactly. Jim Starlin. Jim Carrey is another one for me. God damn,
dude. What you did right there too was something that was very it's awesome, and it shows that you're like a veteran in comic book speak. Is that you nailed your speech, your line to put your book in a sentence? Yeah, that's how well you need to know your book and your line is to just flow it into a conversation. Teenage Babylon is a cosmic punk rock love story. Like once you get that one sentence, dude, you will promote it like crazy, and that's how you get people at your table.
And I had a new book, and it's 10 times as hard as a publisher because I have all the pitches for like 10 books memorized. And so I had a new book recently and I felt like I didn't have the pitch down and I didn't sell it. I didn't sell more than like one of those books at this show. And I was like, it's because I don't have the pitch down. It's because I can't tell that person exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. And if you're kind of second guessing and being like, well, I could kind of get, and they could tell you're lost and that you don't really know. And they're like, well, this guy probably hasn't even read it. Like he doesn't know, like you need to know your material and your work that you're tabling with, especially as a publisher. And do you feel like it's gotten difficult, like for you as a creator to continue making your own personal work as you've grown CosmicLion and turned into this publication machine?
100%. It's impossible. Well, not impossible. And that's a great time for me to show you this. Oh, what are these? Dude, these micro perforated covers, they're so amazing. Who did that? Oh, Greco. That's right. Yeah.
There you go.
These are amazing. Well, they keep my books safe.
Look at that.
I'm kidding. Anyway, so like, because the new book, because I do always like to have something of mine on the table because I want people to know. I want them to know that I'm not just a creator. I'm not like a poser. I want them to know that I make comics and make my books. But since I haven't been able to make like a full story in a long time, I do a lot of these one pagers. And so this is like a collection of like, it's basically like Kevin Eastman put out a book one time called The Arto Biography. And I like that term. So I use it. And, it has everything from like my early drawings, like my first creation was called Jester Man. And, that's, let's see, where are we? That's me like in fourth grade dressed up as my original character for the like Halloween parade,
Love it.
And I still have the same costume there as me like last year in it. And then,
Nice.
Moffat did a pinup for me at one point, and then there's like a super old drawing of it and stuff. So like I just did a collection of just like drawings from my past, all the different things I'm doing. There's a monkey line section. I found this old like Ninja Turtles notebook where I was like pitching like Turtles figures to myself.
Amazing.
There's all these like, so and like I said, there's a lot of different ways to make a comic. It doesn't always have to be, story or anything. And so, I put this Arto biography together, and at Greco, if you're doing a pressed, a normal binding like this, 64 pages, I think is the maximum. So that's how long this is, 64 pages. And so I just filled it up with like everything that I could do, sweet end papers of these California sunsets. And so, I just put everything in there. My Ween-zine stories, everything I could.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah. So without having to do a bunch of work like on a title, I'm still staying busy and I still draw all the time. And then so I was able to get, something together so that I have a part of me on the table as well. Because invariably people are always like, oh, do you make books too? And then, a lot of times they pitch the entire table of everyone else's books. And because those people aren't necessarily with me, they're like, oh, are you a creator too? I'm like, yes, here's my book. And they end up buying like my book and then maybe one other book on the table. Now that's not like the ideal situation, but it feels good to sell my own book,
Honestly, dude, I'm doing the same thing similarly, and because of that situation, all I have is the punk anthology right now. That's in print, and that's my, the punk rock anthology I put together. And then we produce Alex Batt's Cybersync anthology, and then we produce Kai Brown's Shadow anthology. And although like I'm the publisher, I'm running it, I have like stories in the Shadow anthology. At least like not everything is like mine. We put their names on it for a reason, but I'm doing like a little zine from these like drink and draw sessions I did. And so I scanned them all in. I'm working on my iPad, and during my downtime, I don't have like the brain capacity sometimes to like write and to like work on my stories at the moment. So I'm doing a little zine and just recreating these drawings, and I'm almost done with it, but at least I'll have a personal zine just to hand out, and it'll just like promote me a little bit more. And just doing that little thing has helped me become more creative and functional. And like, it's like going to the gym. Like you can't do your crazy workout every day, but if you do something small every day, you still feel like, oh, it wasn't an hour workout, but it was 20 minutes. That's still going to make a difference. Yeah. And that's how this zine is treating me right now. Like the podcast, all the stuff we have going on, it's overwhelming. It's a lot. And so at least I'm rewarding myself with a little bit of my own creativity.
Yeah, that feels really good. Like, because I mean, even as a publisher, I feel the creativity when I'm like in design, I'm laying stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, But when
having
to get
meetings
the
and just
full
talking
freedom,
about it, you get hyped, like
yeah,
you're just like,
yeah,
I'm ready to go. But
yeah, let's
it's the
do it.
aftermath.
But when it's like, but you're always working with a team, you're working with a writer, a creator, the art, whoever is on the team. But then when it's just your stuff, I mean, it's just pure like creativity.
Hmm.
It just feels so good. Like, and when I was doing the like Wizard, the comics magazine that I did with the cartoonist kayfabe ringside seats
Yeah.
Facebook group people, that was all during COVID. And so like all during COVID, I was just like every night I was just like ripping on that thing and just like going in and having fun and going through every single page. And I'd have a like rocks glass of whiskey and whatever else, and I'd be jamming out, and it was like the most fun thing. And that's kind of like where I like really got to know InDesign. And it's a good way too to kind of like stretch out and find out what all your program, I use InDesign, but whatever the program you use, what all it can do,
Hmm.
because you don't want to
Yeah.
just be laying stuff in, but you want to test the boundaries of reality.
Yeah. What comics should be doing. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
the point of them.
absolutely.
That's the point of
Yeah,
the stuff we're making. Yeah. That's
yeah,
like the excitement we want to have when we put out our book, is just to like reshape the universe in some way and just spit it
yeah,
out in how we perceive it.
yeah.
Um,
And for
dude,
someone
so
to look
like,
at the book and be like, "Oh, I haven't seen a comic do this. Oh, this is a weird size. Oh, this is nice
yeah.
paper." And to yeah,
Well, yeah, and when you're going to aspects like that, that's even more exciting. A familiar friend that we both, know a bit more than I do, but Shelly Bond and I were talking one day, and I was pointing about like unique book sizes and everything, and we were talking about that book Vertical. Do you remember that one with Mike
the Mike
Allred
Allred,
and like,
yes,
yeah,
she
yeah,
told me about that too. I think I had to get it.
dude, like messing with stuff like that, messing with paper quality, once you start
Love
like
it.
really deep diving into that customization of a book, like it really does change the reality of comics and how we know them, because we all just expect, do I even have a regular comic near me? I don't think I do. I have like just graphics, but we all expect the standard size and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and having a be as bizarre shaped book, really can be eye catching, and really for those non standard comic book readers, a bit more appealing, to be honest.
absolutely. And that's something I pride the Cosmic Lion table on, is we have a bunch of different sizes. We started banging out these treasury editions, like started with
That's
Ghost
sick.
Agents, and then we continued it with the Big Bang Comics, which is both available CosmicLionProductions.com. But like, because you can see the size difference, it's
Mhm.
like it's almost like 13 by 9 ish in there, so they're much bigger. And then we did the super shiny pages on this one, but then on this one we have the newsprint, and so it's got that super
Oh,
old
it's
school
so
look.
gorgeous.
And then we have Frankie Boy Monster, which is like a little smaller. Do I have one handy? I think I always do. Yeah, Frankie Boy Monster is like even a little smaller,
Ooh,
like compared to the comic book size. And then we have like
dude.
a new manga coming out that we're making with Ro Higashi, called Half of the Crown. So that's going to be a different size. It's going to be about, the manga size. My buddy let me borrow this one piece.
Ooh,
So then it's like
nice.
about, a little bit smaller than Frankie. And so like, like that makes our table interesting, and it makes people go like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what is this? Like,
Variety
is this a
and
comic? And
diversity.
like, of course
Yeah.
it is, man. It's
Showing all your
amazing.
flavors at your table. That's what it's all about. And that's how you're gonna
Exactly.
draw people in.
Yeah. It's bells and whistles, baby. You gotta ring those bells and you gotta blow those whistles.
And then, I've seen you table next to Rick Lopez, who we're gonna have on the show really soon as well
Nice.
too.
Yeah, Rick's the man.
And seeing, yeah, he's super amazing, super awesome. And seeing you guys like table together, you guys have such a good like dynamic, and it feels like one united table a lot of the time. Rick does his own setup and you have your setup and everything.
Right.
But how do you like collabing with other artists at tables like that? And what do you think it brings to a convention when you're able to be with someone you're near like that?
Yeah, man, I love it. It's electric. I think you're talking. We met in person, I think, for the first time at San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we had a monster booth there, and we also had my buddy Manis, who like I do like toys and resale stuff with, of which him and I will be at Emerald City Comic Con this upcoming week.
Ooh,
So that's going to be
cool.
awesome. Uh, and then at like LA Comic Con, you know, huge shout outs to Collectors Paradise, our local store. They put us all up there like for free. So we don't pay for our table. So last year, man, it was like Shelly and Phillip, then me, then, you know, Chris Anderson, Rick, Kevin Anthony Catalan, Adam Lemna, you know, like our whole crew right there. And I mean, that is amazing because then like, you know, I have, you know, in Ghost Agents, all these dudes are in it. So I'm like, you know, you can buy this book for me and then you can go down the line and just get everyone to sign it. And you walk up and down and you talk and you joke and like you have fun and you're like, oh, okay, you're looking for that. Oh, you got to go 2 tables down to talk to Rick. Then you're going to get your, you know, a comic about a boy who creates a realm beyond space and time within his own mind. Rick's got his pitch down. I'm talking about pitches. I love Rick's pitch. But like, you know, it's just so amazing when you're there with a huge crew like that. And especially at San Diego, you know, because Rick and we brought in like Shelly was there one day, Adam was there one day, Shelly and Phillip. And so then you have this whole creative thing where then people want to come back to your booth every day because you've got something else cooking. So, oh my God, I absolutely love it. And, you know, I've done cons like when I was first starting where, you know, it was just me and my lady. And then we didn't know anyone around us. That's still fun. You meet people, you talk to people, you make new friends and connections. But when you've got your homies there with you, it's just like, it's the best because then you're like hanging out and you're having fun. And even in the downtime when it's like a little slow, you're like joking, you're having fun, you're walking and talking to your buddy, you're getting an idea, you know, and then at the end of the show, y'all go out to eat. And that's when, you know, we get I have these notebooks full of like con drawings and
cool.
So we'll like get drunk and I'll just like draw out a page or two of panels, strange, weird panels. And then we'll just pass it around and everyone will fill in the panel, try to make these stories, try to, you know, and people are always like, oh, what should I do? What do I do? What's my answer is always too many questions. Just draw, you know, so it's just absolutely amazing time. You know, I love cons when they're like that. And, you know, the upcoming Indie Creators Con in New Haven, Connecticut is going to be like a whole con of that. And I can't wait.
I can't wait for that. I'm super excited. We're going to be doing interviews. I'll be running around. I'm super hyped to see you guys there as well. We just had Matthew on the show and his episode actually should be coming out. Should already be out. If you're listening to this, go find that episode. You hear all about Indie Creators Con. Matt Sardo, yeah, nice. Brilliant dude, super great Very history, fun. Awesome stories in that episode for you guys to check out. But it is going to be, I feel like, one of the most exciting cons for all of us to continue to look forward to every year. I think this is going to be the con that's going to be on everyone's list that we'll all be traveling towards. And it's, you know, I was telling him in that episode, I was like, you know, how are we preventing, like, you know, you play a show as a musician and then you're just playing to your friends and their girlfriends, and like, how are we preventing that? And there's so many things that they're doing to make this con exciting and inclusive and to really enhance it, but so focused on comics. Like, do you feel like, you know, doing as many conventions as you've done, living across the country in different areas, do you feel like some conventions don't really cater to like comics or even the indie comic scene nearly as much as they should?
I do. I mean, when you're at a lot of these cons, you do see that, like, you know, manga and cosplay and you know, artists, you know, like celebrity signings are, you know, it's clearly where they're making their money. So I get that they're focusing on it. I have found, you know, cons have what they focus on. You know, we went to Heroes Con last year and that was insane. And I like to know that I don't like to call anything out as like selling out or like, why would they do that? Because every con is like someone's first con. And, you know, my first con, I waited in line to meet LeVar Burton and it was like amazing. And I wanted to meet these people. That is part of why I went, you know? So like, I don't fault these cons for like doing that. They make their money. Some fandom is like, you know, I'm a huge Star Trek fan personally. And, you know, I want to say hi to Tasha Yar, you know, or, you know, Denise Crosby, you know, so I get it. That's a very cool part of fandom. I love it. But yes, it would be good to know that there's more cons out there that make it known and are like Heroes Con or CXC or Indie Comics Creators Con. that, you know, you make it known in the title that this is like, this one's for comics. You know, there's no celebrity signings, there's no TV, you know, it's just indie comics, no Marvel and DC. Yeah, we got dealers and we got back issue bins because everyone wants to dig, but like, you know, this is what we are. And I do think there should be more of that, but those cons aren't going to make as much money. They're not going to be able to draw as many people until we can get this thing moving and moving to the groove, and, you know, to where people are wanting to read again, you know, because it's like not everyone wants to read paper.
True. I think that's a big thing too, is like, you know, there's a lot of burnout with superheroes. And I think because that burnout of superheroes turns into like, oh, we're burnt out on comics, when it's like, no, you're not burnt out on comics. Dude. You're burnt out on this type of comic. And I love what you're saying, because, dude, I mean, my first big conventions were like San Diego, and I'd go as a fan. I'd meet all my favorite artists and writers, and I meet a couple of celebrities by like happenstance and whatnot. And that's what makes you excited and what fuels you to go and discover these things, you know? Exactly. So definitely nothing wrong with that, 100%. But it is kind of interesting. Like, you know, we all want more of this in one aspect, but we all have to understand, like, well, what's making the money is here. And what we're trying to do is like revolutionize indie comics to have that flavor pop out so intensely that you can't ignore it, that it's over here anymore. And I feel like this new wave of like indie comics, I don't know, in the since COVID, I guess since COVID, is taking another giant wave, and indie comics are really getting the eye of the consumer and really getting more of our friends and families and the wider audience to realize what we're doing. And I think that's going to make a splash in the next 5 to 10 years and just really get the eye the way Image Comics got the eye of a lot of people during that time.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, it's we can't underestimate the power that the independent printer, not to bow to our corporate overlord Greco right now, just kidding.
Right.
But like, it is amazing that like some like businesses like Comics Wellspring, like, you know, its competitors, Kablam or Mixum or any of these publishers, they've made it possible for all these people to like make their comics. And like, as we said, and like Gilbert Hernandez told us, to just fucking print it. And, you know, so that has allowed all of us who are like, man, I want Marvel or DC or Image or Dark Horse to print my comic. That's the only options. Of course, we got IDW, we got Boom, but, you know, just you're doing it. I can just print my comic right now and get it out to people. And, you know, Comics Wellspring has the store, and like, you know, you can take it to your local comic book store, and it's just like anybody can make their comic and get it out. And like you said, most of them are not superhero. Now, some of them are, and, you know, they don't all have to have big female protuberances either. You know, they could have like, you know, it can be about your day. I read this amazing comic about knives and what knives are right for cooking different dishes and sharpening knives. And I was like, this is so well done, you know? And like, cool. There's a comic by James Stokoe.
I know who you're talking about.
Food. It's like, is it called ramen, or it's called I can't remember.
It's something along those lines. I know exactly which one I saw it on my feed recently.
It's so
I know
good.
exactly.
And it's like, it's like action cooking stuff, you know, and it's like, it's so good. And so, you know, it can be about anything. And like, you know, we hear about all these mangas that are about like baseball or basketball or something like that. And I'm so interested to read something like that, because it's like, how does this creator make it so interesting? And, you know, that's what
you construct a narrative out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like out of a day-to-day simple task, you know?
Yeah, because like narrative, it's all about the narrative. Like, I don't like football, I don't watch football, but I could watch those like, you know, classic football films with the narrator, you know, and the slow-mo snow football shit like all day, because it's so interesting, you know, like it's just it's all about the narrative and the art and something grabbing you, and it could be about absolutely anything, and I love it. That's what's so cool.
And so, like, you know, coming from that viewpoint of an indie creator doing zines and your own work, like, how did it transform into a publication company? Like, how did you go from being like, this is all my stuff, to like, oh, I'm going to take my stuff and all of these people's stuff and publish them and get them out there as well?
I think maybe because it was so like organic that it's like, I didn't like, like make the choice. It just kind of happened, And I
Okay.
think it was after Wizard. And I got to give a shout out to my dude, Ben Granoff here, who I do the Grendel podcast with, The Devil in Detail, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I think it was he who like brought the idea to me and said, I've got a friend who's got a comic. Are you interested in doing any publishing? And that was that was one of the first books we did. It was called Arcane. We did a 3-issue run of that. I think that was the first one. Cause I started doing like anthologies, and I did. And this goes back to, again, kind of like how I started the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats group, because I joined a group about Ween, the band Ween. I love Ween.
Yeah.
And, I joined a group of them on Facebook, and I was like, this is a super talented group of creators. Like, let's do a zine. And then so we did 6 issues of a Ween zine. And then I joined a Ninja Turtles group, and I was like, the guy was like, oh, I want to do an art contest. And I was like, let's make a zine. And then we did 2 issues of a Turtles art zine that were like themed. The first one was Samurai, and the second one was Viking. So we did 2 of those. And then once Cartoonist Kayfabe came out, I was like, oh my God, we got to make our own issue of Wizard. And I thought that after like 2 episodes of their show. And so I pitched them the group, and they're like, well, someone started it yesterday, so you got to get up with them. So then I got up with that person, Sasha. And so she and I then kind of started the group and made it, and then I was immediately like, let's do Wizard, and though someone else named it, I won't take credit for that. So it was always like, I want to like work with people, and I want to make these cool collaborations. And then I think just out of Wizard, like talking with so many cool people, it just grew out of that. And I'm sure Ben egged me on. I kind of can't remember exactly where it switched, but then we started just taking on more books. We did Arcane, and I can't even remember the order. I think maybe Ghost. You know what? It was Ghost Agents. Rocco's gonna be pissed. Sorry, Rocco. But like, because Ghost Agents grew right out of Image Grand Design, because we were trying to do more with those people. We did Image Grand Design too with a bunch of people. I published that, and we worked with all these amazing creators. And then Rocco was like, dude, I have this idea for a comic, and let's get a bunch of the Image Grand Design people together, and let's do it. And so maybe that's how it started. Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
It is
I gotta think these things
insane. Like,
Yeah.
dude, kayfabe has transformed like our indie comics outlook, and it really had people just push themselves. And when I was trying to develop a podcast and come up with a way of doing a show, like it was in 2018 when Apollo started, I saw like 2 videos of Cartoonist Kayfabe, and I was like, this. I'm gonna rip off the show. If I'm gonna do a comic book show, I want to do it like this. And I just proceeded to like follow them and like obsess and like get into all their stuff. And they're a big reason why I started making comics, why I started feeling like I could make comics, and referring to a lot of their stuff. And then like, their grand design books just educated us all and just showed us how we could do stuff. Like, it's crazy how many times that channel is dropped between creators, as in like, you know what, I saw this kayfabe, and then we're just like, damn, all of us saw the same videos, and we were all just like, I got to do this at this point. Like, it's crazy. It blows my mind.
It's crazy too. Like they became this catalyst, and it's got to be a little bit because they came out like right before COVID.
Yeah.
And then so like, it was harder to get out and talk to your comic buddies. You couldn't go to the shop, or you weren't going to cons. And so Ed and Jim became your like comic buddies during COVID. And you saw them more than you saw your best friends, because they were there every week and doing it. And so because they were talking about the comics that you thought you were the only one that you knew about it.
Yes.
Or,
and even the trial stuff, between like McFarlane and Neil Gaiman and stuff like that, all that type of stuff. I just love the Miracle Man deep dives, all that type. You're right. The comics, I was like, nobody else is looking into this. Like, how am I the only one talking about it? And then you find out you have those issues, and you're like, yes. And you discover more cool stuff.
You find those people that are like in that niche with you, and you're like, I thought I was alone here. Yeah, I mean the kayfabe group CKRS has been another humongous thing and connected people because we found their niche and we did a lot of group events during COVID too. Like I was doing like I said, Meltdown Comics did that monthly thing called Meltthology. You'd go there every month and you draw a page. And so I started doing that in Ringside Seats, the Ringside Thology. We met every Saturday night. Oh, sorry, the first Saturday night of every month, and we would make zines. And I mean, we did that for the entirety of COVID, and it was amazing. We would have these meetups, and we did these interviews, and all this stuff that helped solidify this crew. And it didn't just help me like find people whose books to make and make my business better. It connected all of these different people in all of these different ways that like the show CKR, the Cartoons Kayfabe show, I think that in conjunction with the group made something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the show is great and it's so good. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the show. It's amazing too. But I think that the group itself too did something amazing that it only could have done because Ed and Jim made such an amazing comic book show. It connected this indie crew that is now like coming up and becoming the next like Image Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like Image Comics was a group of creators that broke away, everyone knows, and made Image Comics. Now it's like a bunch of Image Comicses that are like together, and so it's like a bunch of these publishers and creators, and the creators, I guess that's the Image did do that by making like everybody had their own production company, but it's like it's cooler to think about. Now we're a bunch of Image Comicses, taking the Image or taking the comics world by storm. So
exactly.
So we'll see what happens with that.
And I love seeing the flavor between all these publications, like even from like what LKC does to what you do to like what Apollo's putting out. Like it's a different flavor for everybody. And I love how like all of us have these little publishing houses that are, growing or pretty established. And it's like, if you don't like this one, check out this one. And if you don't like this one, check out these ones, like there's such a good variety and we're all supportive. Like none of us are trying to compete with each other and trying to like batter each other down for like sales or just like what are you doing that's your secret. But it's like it's really cool seeing how everyone's come together and like found ways to support one another.
I agree 100%. Like it's I saw this amazing quote from Harold Ramis last night. I thought I screen grabbed it, but I didn't. And he said something like, find all these amazing creative people and don't get in competition with them, work with them so that everyone can come up and that everyone can succeed, not because the more creative stuff there is, the better it all is, the better it all pushes you. And like you said, I think we're working pretty well with all these people because it is kind of like different flavors, it's like, it's almost like the guy or the person who's at the center of these production companies, has their style and it's reflected with the books they like pick up and that they put out. And so, when you read an LKC book, it. And when you, I hope when you read a CosmicLion book, it, and Apollo, it, it's like, just as like this is a Marvel book and this is a DC book and an Image book, Dark Horse book, IDW book, Boom book.
I think that's why it's important to have those flavors and those distinctnesses too, because you look at the top two who are at the rising, and we were just talking about burnout on this flavor. Like we are all like cinched on the superhero type of trope and these big events and stuff like that. When it's like, okay, we let that flavor just dominate, and it's because they were in competition and they kept on one-upping each other, and then they're the ones left. And it's like, we don't want that to be the only one left. Like, if Apollo continues and CosmicLion continues, I hope everyone else is right behind us continuing and not like having the whole entire world burn out on comics again. It's like, I want to show them that this is art and it's so fun and it could be anything you want. And it's not just a single, trope type of thing, that there's so much out there that you could fall in love with and designs and all this. And people, I guess, kind of lose track and forget about that because they've had so much of this one flavor,
Yeah. Well, and the this like feud, this like DC versus Marvel thing, you know, it's like
Yeah.
Star Trek versus Star Wars, or Coke
Mhm.
versus Pepsi, red versus blue. It's like you know, and I like to read about these like the comic God damn it, the back in the day there was, you know, the comics groups. What were they called? The shit. You know, there are these different comics groups, like the syndicates.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
and so they kind of like pit each other against each other because they truly were in competition to like get their comics in newspapers and get their stuff picked up, and
And
you know,
outbuy each
Basil
other and
Wolverton
purchase
can
each
make all
other
these
and stuff
pages.
like that.
Oh, sorry, I talked over you. What'd you say?
Oh, no, my bad. I'm sorry. And they were like
Sorry.
outbuying each other and like purchasing each other at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so there truly was this like battle between the syndicates, and it, you know, it grew into the battle between DC and Marvel for like space on the newsstand and space in your bookshop or whatever. But it's like there isn't that battle now, like
Mhm.
because there's an infinite amount of space in the feed that everyone's constantly flipping through the feed. You know, they're going feed.
Mhm.
So it's just like, you know, you just gotta keep creating and keep making stuff so that to feed the feed, if you will.
Yeah, honestly.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
for real. It's true. Like you got to,
Yeah.
because then you stay relevant, you stay on top. You're not going to be forgotten about. Even if you put out your book a year ago, stay and promote your stuff. You know,
Yeah,
that's a
keep
big
it
thing
going.
people forget. Like, you know, it doesn't matter how long ago your book came out. Your book came out. Like,
Yeah,
don't let it
and it's
die.
out.
Like, and I tell people this all the time is that Kickstarter or your crowdfunding is the beginning. It does not
Absolutely.
determine the fate of your book. Like, it
Right.
doesn't matter how amazing it performed. It doesn't matter how bad it performed. As long as you got it funded and it's in print, dude, you've done the hardest part. Now just promote it. Just put it out there and just keep on printing it and keep on showing it to people. Some people don't discover comics until 5, 10, 15, 20 years after they've been out. And then they're like, this is the most greatest thing ever. Why haven't we heard about it? You know,
Yeah.
you got to just keep pushing your work out.
You got to, and
sorry, what was that? No, you're good.
There's no like instant gratification with it, you know, too. And like a lot of times with a Kickstarter, you know, you have 500 books that you put out and you're not going to get 500 responses back.
Right.
A lot of the times you get like 10 responses back. And so, you know, it might feel like you're just like throwing these books off into the void, but like people are out there loving them and talking about it. And you just have to like have confidence in your book and know that it's out there, like stirring conversation with people in their private comic worlds, you know, and like, you know, you might not like that was so hard for me at first. Like, I just felt like, you know, all these books are out there, but like, how do I know it? You know it because you did it and they're out there, and you gotta know that. And you might go to a con. And I remember there was a dude who was like a fan of Monkey Lion. And I kept seeing him around, and he would ask me about it, and he'd be excited to see me. And like, I'm like, okay, this is like what it's about. Like, nobody knows this book, but this kid loves it. And this kid is like showing it to all these people. And after a couple of years, he came to San Diego Con with like all these people. And he's like, I'm in the military, and this is my like whole platoon. And we all read Monkey Lion and we like it. And we laugh about it. And it's a joke now about the dude like turned this guy's head into a bong. And like, it's like they have it. And that's all that. And that made it like solidify in my brain that like, that's all you need. Like, somewhere out there, like your book is like in a bag and board, and it's in someone's long box, and they pull it out, or it's on a shelf, or you know, your buddy takes a photo on Instagram and you see it on the wall or something. And it's just like, it's out there and it's doing its thing. You know, no one gets a comic and like throws it away. No one reads a comic and then puts it in the closet where it can't be seen. Now, I definitely have a closet full of comics that can't be seen.
I was like,
but
I don't know about that.
I see them and I know where they are. I know where every comic is, and I know what book is, you know, like
you didn't get rid of it for a reason. You're going to go back to it. And there's a reason why it's stuffed in that closet, because you're refusing to let it go, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, that comic that closet is not a closet. It's like the treasure chest. It's you know, so it's out there, and you just got to know that it's doing it and have confidence in it. And then, you know, move on to the next one and keep on making it and do it more. You know, you got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it well, as LL Cool J so succinctly put it.
So, you know, you've been doing this for a minute and you've gone through a lot from your own work to publishing work to like figuring out some ins and outs. And now you're running your own little studio. Like, what is
Little,
like,
hey.
hey, you know, it's legit. Like, it's super, I can't wait to check that place out, dude. But like, what has kept you going? I'm sure you've run into like obstacles. I'm sure you've run into roadblocks. I'm sure you've run into like some stuff that just makes you want to just toss it all up in the air. Like,
Yeah.
and I know those are hard times, and somehow you've overcome a lot of those hard times, whatever it may be. Life creeps up on you, you know, and it could get really tough to be like, oh, I'm still doing this comic book thing, and I still want to do this. Like, what makes you come back to it after everything?
I think it's like just the joy of comics and how amazing comics are, you know? And I say that in like, you know, I have a super supportive family. My folks like love it. My dad got me into comics. My mom got me into comics. Like, you know, and everyone is super supportive. And being in business, like having businesses and entrepreneurial the entrepreneurial mindset is like ingrained in my family from back to like my ancestors fled Germany and Russia and France to come to the States and make like garment business and, you know, sell these wares. And it's just been a part of my life. So, my heritage means a lot to me. The push to like get myself on the map as well and make it a worthwhile endeavor and to make, you know, the generations before me and after me proud. Like my family and cousins, like they have other businesses too, and they do really well. And you know, I'm not in competition with them, but they push me as well to like want to strive to like do really great stuff. Cause you know, I can see that like our upbringing has made us able to do it. And you know, like I found my lane early and I knew I wanted to make comics and do it early. And if I can help people do that, I you know, I'm not like religious, but I'm like I'm spiritual. I like to think, and I like to believe in things. And, you know, I feel like I am here on this planet to like, to make creativity happen and to harness it and to help people see their creativity become its thing. You know, this is like something that I like from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the monoliths. When you read the books and you get into it, the monoliths are this like super ancient species that travel to these different planets and basically inspire the people on that planet to like, they don't give them the answers, but they make them question a little outside the thought that they had, you know? And so they don't tell the ape to use the bone as weapon, but they show them that like, what is this smooth, crazy object? Now in the book, I think the monoliths do show them some stuff, but like, you know, it just makes them, it like cracks their brain.
Yeah.
And then helps them create new like things. And they're like, okay, so this thing that I've been messing with all the time, maybe I can do something with it. And, you know, and so, you know, I like to try to be the monolith when I can be. That's a new saying I'm going to start using now. Be the monolith.
Dude, that's like, yeah.
Be the monolith you want to see in the world.
There you go. Just writing that down real quick. Apollo's new promo. You're just like,
So I do like, you know, have this tattoo of the original CosmicLion, and it's surrounded by monoliths, and it comes down through here. So it's part of the whole thing. And
nice.
So how do I deal with roadblocks? I like to see that they're just a small thing in the road, and you're going to either go over them, you're going to either go around it, you know, or you're going to find some new way, and you're going to build a tunnel underneath it. And then you're going to come up and be like, whoa, I'm not on this road. I'm actually here in the woods, and I just found this amazing thing. And now it's like something completely different. So like I had mentioned that I sent my art to one of my favorite all-time artists, and they told me in, you know, with more words and more eloquently that it's not good yet. It's not ready yet. Draw on your sketchbook every day for 2 years, and they weren't just like, you suck, kid, get out of here, which is like how I took it in the moment.
Yeah,
But,
of course.
They actually said like, draw on your sketchbook every day for 2 years, practice this, do this. And while it made me so mad at first, I've grown to see that as actually like a pivotal part in my growth, because if everyone's just telling you, oh, this is so great, you did a great job. If people are afraid to say, you know what, you actually, why don't you work on your fingers, or try, like Ben Granoff, another guy, I love Ben so much. He said, your figures are a little flat. Work on rotation and showing your characters do more stuff. And that really helped me. That helped me so much. So like it constructive criticisms help out so much more than just someone telling you this looks so good. That's not helpful, because then you might actually put out something that isn't good. Good is subjective, but you could have done something a little bit better if someone was like, this frame, this person looks like they're cut out of paper, like they're a paper doll. Maybe try to work on something. Maybe try to like, just adapt it. Get a figure model. Get something. Use your, the Tasha Yar figure you have on the wall right there to like, to take a look at something. Take some photos, like those amazing Bill Sienkiewicz photos, or do something to try to get out of your comfort zone and make it a little bit better. So the only way to handle a roadblock in my vision is to learn from it and to turn that roadblock into like a bridge to the next thing, or turn that roadblock into something that can help you get further in your creative life. That's the only way to deal with those things. Because if you get pissed and you see the roadblock and you're like, God damn it, I can't get here, I'm going home, then you lost the lesson that thing can tell you.
Yes, dude, I love that. Yeah, honestly, it's so much there that's so truthful and that's just so relevant, dude. Like, and you're not going to get to that point if you don't finish your work, if you don't go in and do the work and put it out and try take the risk and put it together and get that feedback and just keep doing it and try and just know you're going to improve. And you may or may not stick it. If you stick it on your first try, kudos to you, win.
You probably won't.
But like,
you probably won't
though.
Yeah,
probably won't. Hands down.
And that's
like,
real, and it's okay. You can print 25. That's like the minimum print at most places. Print 25 and hand it out, and go to the comic shop.
And then see how you could do it better and better, because it just gets funner and easier and more exciting the more you do it, the more people you find, the more friends you make, the more of a community you become a part of. Like that's what's going to transform you as a creator. And that's what's going to give you love and energy and inspiration. And I think that's why people like you and me just do this day in and day out on our days off. It doesn't matter if we're working a day job and if this is all we're doing, like, dude, just comics consume you. And it's a lot of work. And, I'm discovering publishing and running stuff and, helping creators. It's a lot of work, but you don't get tired of it.
24-hour job.
Yeah. On call. Like on call.
Every day. Yeah.
Man, Eli, this has been awesome and exciting and just like, and it's such a fun conversation because I was super excited to talk to you clearly. And there's so much more to unpack with what you do and what CosmicLion has done and, what you guys continue to do. But I'm so lucky to like not only have met you and seen you, but like seeing how this has kind of transformed for you over the last year. And, when I saw the post about you in your studio, I was just like, man, this guy is getting to like Neil Adams level and just like going to be doing crazy, awesome stuff. I'm so, congratulations. I'm like super proud of you and everything you guys are doing. But for now, why don't you let us know where we could find CosmicLion's productions and where we could get that stuff and what you're going to be up to for the rest of 2024.
Definitely, man. Definitely. There's so many books. Like I have books planned and set like almost to the end of the year. Everything you can find us on is on CosmicLionProductions.com. CosmicLion is me on Instagram. CosmicLion Productions on Instagram is the new business one that we're trying to keep active on and get all the news out there. Just like there's more Ghost Agents coming out. we have an amazing announcement for Indie Comics Creator Con for Ghost Agents. The Big Bang comic is just like a huge, amazing thing that we did. Also available on CosmicLion Productions. I got my book here that, I am super proud of. It's my like whole life in comics again. Emerald City Comic Con, we're leaving for tomorrow. This might not get out before that, but if it's out after it, we had an amazing time at Emerald City. God, it was so lucrative and amazing. We met so many amazing people. Anyway, then we're going to Indie Comics Creator Con, which is absolutely going to be insane. I'm going to be hosting a panel for the 40th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, my one and only true love. No. But like you can see this entire wall is Turtles. I got it here. I grew up with Turtles. I love it. And it's Jim Lawson, again, who's one of my favorites, and Eric Talbot, who is, I think, one of the most visionary Turtles creators from that time period, from the OG Mirage days. So I'm going to be hosting that with those guys. And I'm actually driving an hour north after the con because Eric Talbot is now a tattoo artist, and I'm getting another CosmicLion in his style up here. That's going to be, I am so excited for that. And then just the rest of the year is still kind of in flux. I'm trying to book more cons. I think we're going to be at WonderCon. I'm really hoping to be at Heroes Con. It seems like it's up in the air right now. I applied to Kevin Smith's Chronic Con. Nice. I'm really hoping to get into that. That would be so cool. Cool. And just we're going to be at cons. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, we're going to be doing some local signings. I like to get into like non-comic based events too. Like there's a cycling festival here I like to be a part of. Because when you're not at a Comic-Con and you're at one of these side festies, you're the only person making comics usually. Yeah, and so probably. Then when people see you, they're like, "Whoa, comics! They're here!" And then so you kind of can get a little extra shine. So I like to do craft fairs and beer events and all this stuff like that too. So trying to get out to more of those. Maybe a music festival if I can make it work. So yeah, we're gonna be everywhere. But keep track, CosmicLionProductions.com. I got a favorite 80s creator to dig an unpublished book out from his 90s catalog that we're going to be releasing later in the year. It's going to be a 4-issue subscription model. Ooh. And so that's going to be like a monthly title, 3 issues of his 90s book, and then 1 issue of a all new comic. That's going to be huge. It's Matt Howarth. I kind of talked about it already. He was the first guy that ever did a pinup in Turtles issue 3. And he did one of my favorite Turtles issues called Turtle Dreams against 42 or 43. So that's going to be huge. That's going to be amazing. And then just more books. We got manga books coming out. We got Frankie issue 2. We got, Space Knights issue 2. Oh my God. I didn't even heap enough praise on Kevin Anthony Catalan, the man. He is killing it. So we got Space Knights issue 2. Look at that.
Yeah. Dude, gorgeous. Super dope.
Man. So that's going to be huge. Dope. It's nonstop for CosmicLion, and I do the podcast, The Devil in Detail with Ben Granoff, read through with Grendel, and we got Matt Wagner and his son, and we've had Tim Sale rest up. We had the recently departed Joe Matt. What an amazing guy. We had him twice on there, and that dude is amazing. I literally met with him like 2 days before he passed. He was going to do a pinup for another new book that we have for pre-order called, I hate to turn this into a commercial. Anyway, Wait, It Gets Worse. And so, we were just about to work with Joe. He was such an amazing dude. I loved hanging out with him. And so we've had Joe on the channel, and just like a lot of stuff going on. I have still my CosmicLion radio podcast from, it's been going on for about 10 years. At this point, I only get to do about 1 a year, but that's where I go to like explore different things and interview, different people. And I would interview comics people, and we'd build a mixtape. I got really super proud of one I did with Kevin Eastman, where we built this mixtape that was like, what were they listening to at the Mirage Studios, like when it was at its peak? And, so it's cool if you like comics and music to get back into some of those older ones. The quality is not as good as it could be, because it's old.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's some good info to deep dive into there. You know what I mean?
So, dude, I really think so. Like, I interviewed like Hunter S. Thompson's road manager, a guy who like did a couple documentaries about Hunter and like lived with him. And a guy who was a sound man for Bootsy Collins and Frank Zappa.
Oh shit.
Like
That's cool.
you know, so it was more than just comics people.
Yeah.
But we had like Kevin Eastman on there a couple times, Matt Wagner, Mike Allred,
Wow.
Jim Mahfood a few times, Dave Crossland, you know, so I think there's still good work there and a lot of great music to listen to if you like to mix your podcast with music again, which I ripped off of Jim Mahfood's Beat B sessions back in the day.
Those are so great too. Dude, that's awesome. I love hearing the list. You know what I mean? Like I
Oh,
love
man.
hearing the creative list of what you're doing and what you continue to work on. And I know it's a lot to juggle. And I love seeing how it's just not gonna stop and it's just gonna keep growing. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want to take over, you know, indie comics need to take over the world by storm. And
Yeah.
we try to find every angle we could do it at. But Eli, this has just been so awesome. There's so many more questions I'm trying to hold back from asking you.
Thanks, man.
And you know, we'll
We'll
save
do
it
a part
for
two
a second
soon.
part. Yeah, we'll do a part 2 very soon.
Yeah.
Maybe a follow up after some of these conventions, and we
Sick,
could talk about some of the wins behind them. I look forward to seeing you at Indie Creator Con. We'll
be
hang
huge.
out. It'll be super fun. So thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, as always, don't forget to hit that bell. I think it's still a bell. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the post, tag us in everything you're doing. Tag us if you have your physical book from Comix Wellspring, and so that we could repost it and we could share your printed material on the CWS social media. All sorts of stuff. Look at this right here. Beautiful.
I forgot to even mention
Beautiful.
Fourth Dimensional, which we started a pre-order for today, right now.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Check out the links in the bio we have here. All sorts of CosmicLion insanity. But as always, thanks for hanging. Stay creative and stay inspired.
Comics with